Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just finished briefing the Security Council about my mission. I shared with them the consultations I held in the region and the calls I've been making around the world to ensure that there is strong support for the mission, and we all agree on one mediation process, and encourage the Council to speak with one voice as we try to resolve the crisis in Syria. When I was in Syria, I was able to have discussions not only with President Assad and Foreign Minister Mualem, but I was also able to see some of the opposition leaders, religious leaders, civil society, businessmen and women, and also met with the chairman of Syrian National Council in Ankara, where I held discussions with Prime Minister Erdogan and his foreign minister. The region is extremely concerned about developments in Syria. Their concern goes beyond Syria itself because the crisis can have serious impact for the whole region if it's not handled effectively. I'm doing my best with the support of everyone to try and find a peaceful solution. The first objective is for all of us to try and stop the violence, the human rights abuses, and the killings, and get an unimpeded access for humanitarian assistance to the needy, and of course, the all-important issue of political process that will lead to a democratic Syria fulfilling the aspirations of the Syrian people. In my discussions with the Security Council this afternoon, I was encouraged by the very strong support and the determination of the Council to work together. I know some of you are smiling. There have been some differences, but that is also normal. And I hope pretty soon you will be hearing one voice from the Council. I discussed with the Council proposals I made to the Syrian government that was aimed to, one, stop the violence, accelerate humanitarian assistance, and establish credibility and confidence for the political process when it is initiated. I will be sending a team in this weekend to pursue the discussions and the proposals we left on the table, and at the appropriate time, when I deem sufficient progress has been made, I shall be prepared to go back to the region. If you have any questions, I will take it.
Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Special Envoy.
Yeah, that's the title. That's the title. Special Envoy. Yes.
You were announcing that you received some answers from the Syrian regime about your proposals. Mm-hmm. Today, when you took to the Security Council, did you tell them that you received all the answers, or still some answers you didn't receive from Syria?
I told the Security Council we were talking with the Syrians, and the talking continues.
Mr. Kamal.
Yes. You are really traveling. Can you speak a bit louder?
Yes. Gabriela Sotomayor, Mexican News Agency. How much time are you going to give Mr. Assad to answer? The opposition believes that he's buying time to finish with the opposition there.
Time is always an issue in negotiations. And of course, each crisis or each situation has its own specificities. And what is important is for us to engage and make sure the other side engages seriously, and to ensure that you are moving ahead and making progress. And as long as you believe the discussions and the talks you are having are meaningful, I think you should continue. If you come to the conclusion or make the judgment that is waste of time, or one side is playing for time, you would take, you draw the consequences and take appropriate action.
We'll take the gentleman in the front there.
Mr. Allen, coming back to your comment about unimpeded access, do you have a firm commitment when humanitarian support from UN agencies can go in firmly? Lady Amos didn't give a date yesterday.
You're talking about the mission. I think the mission, they left, I have a feeling they'll be there over this weekend. If they are not, they are ready to continue there, to start their mission with the Syrian government. And I hope they will be given the access they need and the cooperation necessary to get their work done.
Lady in the front here.
Okay.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
BBC. How do you define?
Oh, you are BBC.
How do you define this conflict?
How
do you define it? And,
how do you define conflict?
This conflict. And second, how much encouragement are you still giving, or how likely is it that the different factions will actually talk to each other?
No, you've raised a very important question. Let me start with the second part. I mean, I've seen the government, and I've also spoken to some members of the opposition. I haven't spoken to all of them. What is important is that the opposition I met, it wasn't the armed opposition. The opposition I met were keen to get talks going and resolve the issue politically and peacefully. Of course, they are impatient. The killings have been going on. It's over a year now, and they are frustrated and upset and angry and want to see results. And they themselves are also trying to organize the opposition groups under an umbrella organization, whether it's SNC or whatever, that would engage with the government when the time comes for talks. But when you ask him, how do you define this conflict, I think it's a conflict in a region of the world that has seen many, many traumatic events. I think we need to handle the situation in Syria very, very carefully. Yes, we tend to focus on Syria, but any miscalculation that leads to major escalation will have impact in the region, which will be extremely difficult to manage. Some people have a tendency to compare it with Libya or other situations, but I believe Syria will be much more complex, and this is why everybody is moving very cautiously, and I hope we'll be able to succeed. And the Syrian government has to know that the people of Syria want to get on with their lives. They are tired, they've suffered a lot, and I can tell you it is for the people of Syria that I toil. I have said in Damascus to the government that we should place the interest of the people at the center of all our efforts, and remember that they need to be given a peace of mind, stability, for them to get on with their lives. So I appeal once again in the name of the people and for the sake of humanity, let's stop this brutality. Thank you.
4 more questions. Do you mind taking 4 more questions?
I do mind. Since you've announced it, I will take them.
Very short questions, please. The gentleman in front.
Hikoshito from Kyoto News, Japanese news agency. How was the atmosphere in the meeting with Mr. Assad?
It was welcoming and correct.
Sir?
Mohamed Cheikh, Plus Info. Monsieur Alain, ce qu'attend le peuple syrien, c'est des choses pratiques. La seule chose qui ressort, c'est l'envoi d'une mission humanitaire. Mais lorsque cette mission accepte d'être sous le contrôle du gouvernement syrien, est-ce que ça ne risque pas de biaiser, puisque le gouvernement a annoncé qu'il n'y a pas de crise humanitaire?
Mais si on ne travaille pas avec les gouvernements syriens, comment peut-on faire le travail nécessaire C'est eux qui contrôlent le terrain. Ils sont obligés de travailler avec eux. J'espère qu'ils vont avoir les capacités, ou bien l'indépendance, bien la flexibilité de faire leur travail. Mais ils sont obligés de travailler avec le gouvernement.
The gentleman right there with the glasses, please.
Jamil Shader from Brazil. Question on the response from the Syrians. Out of the questions that you posed them, how many did they actually answer so far?
I don't think we can look at it mathematically like that.
Are you satisfied with them?
We are continuing our discussions. And as I said, the team is going in over the weekend to continue.
Last question, please. The lady behind you, please. Could you raise your voice, please?
Shireen Hurst, Crosslines Essential Media, Geneva. Do you see there being a realistic possibility of a coalition government being formed between Assad's government and a future National Transitional Council?
That will have to come out of the talks between the Syrians. It will be for them to decide. The process that I'm asked to lead is a Syrian-led process which leads to establishment of a democratic Syria, and the decisions will have to be taken by the Syrians. I can't take the decisions for them.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.